This is ChangeMakers with Katie Gore, finding the right solutions for the affordable housing community.
Welcome back to the second part of my discussion with ChangeMaker Evette Hester, the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Housing Authority of New Orleans. Evette and her team manage nearly 5,000 low to moderate income housing units, along with administering 18,000 Housing Choice Vouchers. Evette, New Orleans has one of the strongest resident advisory groups in the country. Can you share your thoughts about building a positive working relationship built around trust?
Communication is important to restoring trust and transparency. We resurrected community meetings with our resident leaders to get input on policies, procedures, programs, anything that they want to share with us. We also had them promote some of our programs and new activities that we implemented, especially the ones during COVID. We are using our resident leaders as a vehicle, as an ambassador, to help us promote programs, to share different policy changes, and to garner community support for any other type of initiative that we are planning to implement.
And this goes not just with programming, this probably extends into redevelopment design and real capital types of decisions as well, correct?
Correct. We involve our residents in the design phase of all of our new communities. And so we have community engagement meetings that are staffed by not only the Hanno team, but also the development partner. They provide schematics on what the exterior will look like, floor plans of what the interior would look like, and we actually go into working sessions with the community and with some of our residents, and they provide us feedback. I remember distinctly looking at one floor plan, and the residents said, "Okay, there's not enough storage. And why is the storage located here and not there? And what about external storage? We like to barbecue. We want to put our barbecue grills and our bicycles up. We don't want them in the house." And so that type of feedback is critical in ensuring that we have a good sustainable product in the community.
And just a design element like that, it's not something that would have been necessarily left out on purpose, but, for people or architects or engineers, whomever are making those plans, it's just not a thought bullet that they would have had. And so that feedback that your residents gave you really became a success point for them because it impacts not just how they're storing their items but it also affects how the look of the property is and how it's maintained. And so they were in the best position to be able to highlight that improvement change. So good job to you and your team for seeking out that input and then incorporating that. I think of all of the redevelopment you guys are doing. So you say you had 9 projects, and I believe you said $200 million. What is happening in the redevelopment? Is it new? Is it taking down old and replacing? Go through some of those redevelopment efforts that you guys have underway.
The redevelopment efforts that are currently in the pipeline are new communities. They are either a second or third phase of an existing community that's already been built, or they are vacant parcels that will have new units on them. So there's a combination. So for instance, we have a site, was formerly the B.W. Cooper site, but now it's called Morale Commons. We've renamed all of these communities to give it a different feel, and it's a new community, and you want to bury some of the old things of the past. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, there are several hundred units on that parcel right now, and there is still some vacant land that we need to develop. And we are going to build the last phase of it is to build some senior housing, as well as we have a historic building that is still a part of the site, which we are working in partnership with one of the community organizations to provide a community resource for domestic violence. And so in that case, there's already units that have been built over the years and there's still vacant land. And so we're adding the last phase or phases to that property. In other cases, we have vacant parcels that we have not built anything on, and this will be the first group of units that will be built on those parcels. So the $200 million worth of redevelopment work that's in the pipeline is a composite of those two scenarios of newly developed communities that had no units on it and finishing up phases that were previously done.
I visited a couple of those communities and I was very impressed because there really was no distinction in the look and feel of your community versus, and I hate to say versus because I don't want to pit them against each other, but, versus a commercial rate unit. You guys have incorporated design and community space and layout. And, one of the communities that I went to was a former, I think it was a Texas company building. And, it had fantastic skyline, and just, it was located conveniently. And so you guys have done a real comprehensive approach to your redevelopment. I mean, there used to be years ago, housing authorities would take whatever land was vacant and you often saw it next to an interstate or you saw it next to, railroads, things that really didn't, set up a community for a healthy and positive layout. But you guys have really turned that around with what you're doing.
New Orleans is fortunate because a lot of the properties were in prime locations,
Mm-hmm.
close to all of the amenities, close to the world famous French Quarter, close to, a lot of renowned restaurants, close to, sporting venues. So it is unique in that way where, it had a lot of prime land and a lot of a part of our redevelopment strategy of expanding affordable housing is also using our Section 8 program as leverage resources to help the project financially by pledging project-based vouchers. And that particular property that you spoke of, that's what was done at that property, 1501 Canal. It was a public-private venture where the housing authority pledged project-based vouchers. And you are absolutely right when you said that that place has a panoramic view of the city. It is absolutely stunning.
I think that New Orleans is poised for greatness, and that's not just because, the city has, exhibited their resilience, but, you guys are so active right now and trying to meet the need and trying to move the dial here. But give us an idea of exactly how many people are on the waiting list, because I think that people don't realize the need, the volume of the need that's happening.
The number of all of the families on our combined waiting list, which means that folks can be on several waiting lists. The same family can be on 10 different waiting lists. Is about 80,000.
That is enormous. And, at that rate, combined with turnover, it would take years to just facilitate that, wouldn't it?
Yes, but we're getting better. We are taking a different approach to managing our waiting list now so that people are not on waiting lists for 10 years. So we're looking at a different approach when we open up future waiting lists so that people don't wait 10 years to be called.
Mm-hmm.
Because circumstances change. We're finding that some of the older waiting lists that we work, when we get to the last, let's say, couple thousand families, their situations have changed, or we don't have a good success rate of reaching or finding them. That is a cost to the agency because, we're spinning our wheels, right? Sending out letters after letter
Right.
after letter when people have moved on or their circumstances is not the same. And so they found housing. So we're going to do things a little differently as we manage our waiting list going forward so that we can serve people a lot sooner.
So, how do you predict the new stimulus money for new vouchers, emergency vouchers, addressing homelessness? How do you predict that's going to impact for your agency?
I think it's going to be a tremendous impact. I mean, we need those resources. There's clearly a demand for housing in this community, particularly for the homeless. This population has, although it was a higher number several years ago, it's stabilized now. But one of the unique things about warm climate cultures and climates, I should say, is that you tend to get more, homeless because, you can live outside year long. And so that is one of the challenges. And I think any resource that we get will not go to waste, and that we have a very good working relationship with an organization called Unity. And they provide different paths for homeless persons to follow. Some people can be housed immediately and live independently, while others may have to go through take another path to progress to independence. And so we've been working with them on several homeless initiatives currently, and any additional resource would certainly help us serve that population.
Well, I envision you guys being a NARO award winner for that particular category, and it's an issue that a lot of communities are dealing with. So you guys are really advancing here. A couple of last questions as we close up here. You mentioned, the Katrina recovery, and I know New Orleans is really moving beyond that, but yet wanting to still recognize the realness that happened there. And so it's a delicate balance. But would you say that the issues that the workforce experienced, that housing experienced, that really people experienced, where do you, if you were to speculate here, I mean, especially as a person who has come to New Orleans, what is the feel of it right now? And how is the community? And, how is the workforce? Just give us on the ground look at that.
Here's what I would say, and I'm going to take a long route of saying it, if you don't mind. We provide housing to folks in need, and it's a basic need: food, shelter, safety. And over the years, the housing authority has been blessed and fortunate to have about $1.2 billion invested in its community to address its portfolio post Katrina. And there's still work to be done. However, once we provide the shelter, and I must say, this community has done a great job of addressing affordable housing needs post Katrina. And the housing that it has provided to the community is quality housing. But now that we have the bricks and mortar pieces handled, now we need to address the other components, right? Education, skill set development, pathways that will break generational poverty and create generational wealth. And so the analogy that I always use is, now that we got the outfit, we need to accessorize this outfit.
Nice, exactly. Yeah.
And we need to provide families, equip families with skills that are marketable skills, transferable skills, skills not just in the tourism industry, which drives this market, but to pivot to other skills that may be needed for the future: green building, green energy, some of those on the horizon type of things. While we are still staying true to our mission of building affordable housing, maintaining affordable housing, preserving affordable housing, which is something we hadn't even talked about yet, we also recognize that we need to invest in humans and human capital development. We've taken a deliberate approach to amplify the traditional programs, homeownership. We've helped over 500 families become homeowners in the last few years, and that's a lot. And last year alone, during COVID, at the height of COVID, we closed on 23 families.
Wow.
So 23 families were able to purchase their homes last year. at the height of COVID. And so we're using that model as a vehicle, as the traditional model, to help families become independent, self-sufficient, and to start to build generational wealth. We also have invested in scholarship programs because we realize that education, as everyone has said over the years, that education is a pathway to independence. And so we've made a deliberate commitment to funding our scholarship program, which provides resources to graduating seniors and those who are currently in college to help pay their tuition. We have an entrepreneurial training program, which helps train our residents to become entrepreneurs, similar to the greatest success that we have right now, which is the GUST Resident Management Corporation. It is the greatest success story that we have working for us right now, managing a multi-million-dollar, multi-phased property and doing a superb job. So we see that as the model, and we're hoping with our entrepreneurial program, we're able to attract more families to take that leap of faith and fulfill their dreams in becoming homeowners, entrepreneurs, becoming educated, becoming independent and self-sufficient.
We've talked a lot of shop here so far. And let's just end here. If you could personalize what you've seen in housing, what you've seen it do in someone's life. You mentioned all of these scholarships and education and home ownership. Can you personalize an instance for us how you've seen somebody radically change their lives through one of these?
Since I've been here, there was a resident who became a nurse, and she was able to become a nurse because of that initial investment that we provided to her by way of a scholarship. And that person has since become a homeowner. And so when I look at that story alone, I see that the things that we've put in place work and can continue to work. A lot of times we look at residents and we highlight them in our newsletters and things like that. But this is a great success story of someone who fell on hard times and needed some help, and we gave that person a helping hand so that they can have a better life. And so that's a great ending to this story as a houser, helping someone have a better life.
What a fantastic, journey for her and for you guys as an agency and organization of people trying to help people. And may that karma come back to you guys in bucketfuls for impacting really daily the lives of everybody. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. And onward for you and your team at the Housing Authority of New Orleans.
Thank you so much, Katie. It was good to meet you.
Thanks for listening to ChangeMakers with Katie Gore. To find out more about Katie, go to quadel.com. That's QUADEL.com. This has been a production of Forbes Books Radio.